Hey guys, it's Allison. So if you've been subscribed to my channel for a while now, you probably know that I am a graduate student here in Japan. And basically every week, someone will ask me, why are you doing this program in Japan? Why didn't you come to America? My mom basically asks me this every month. So I thought I would take this video to explain the reasons why I decided to go to graduate school in Japan as opposed to back home in the US or really anywhere else in the world. So these are just gonna be like my personal opinions, I guess. But I think mostly they're pretty general, that they're gonna apply to a lot of people. And if you are considering doing a graduate program in Japan, I do hope that this video will help you out with the decision. Personally, I do enjoy it. I don't regret it. There are bad things, of course, but there's gonna be bad things no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. So let's start the video. So unfortunately, I am not the heiress to a great fortune or anything like that, so tuition really matters. If you're in a more science-y engineering type of grad program, then you'll probably get some sort of scholarship. But if I did go back home and try to do a humanities graduate program, the chances of it being unfunded or just limited funding are pretty high. And tuition, at these huge schools can cost thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. But here in Japan, tuition's very reasonable. It's very cheap, at least from my perspective, of course. So tuition for 1 year is about 5,200 US dollars, somewhere around there. So in total for a 2-year graduate program, including the enrollment fees, the cost is going to be about 13,000 to 14,000 US dollars total for everything. And I think that's a really good price, as that wouldn't even pay for 1 semester at a lot of the schools in America I was looking at. And on top of that, there are a lot of scholarships available. Now this is kind of different from American funding, I think, in that a lot of people here are gonna have to apply to private foundations to get funding. The school will offer funding to some people, but that's only if you are an excellent academic person type. But there are a pretty good number of scholarships out there you can get if you just apply to them yourself. These are kind of limited by nationality and things. I kind of talked about this in my other video about grad school here. But if you are not in Japan yet, I definitely recommend applying to the MEXT scholarship program. It will fully fund you and give you a stipend to live on in Japan. The only downside to it is that you have to apply almost 2 years out in advance. But look into that, it's very good. So something else is that the cost of living in Tokyo, I actually find it quite reasonable. I mean, it's a big city, it's Tokyo, it is expensive, but I'm comparing it to other places where I likely would have ended up in, like say New York, Los Angeles, Boston. I think living in those cities is gonna be at least twice as expensive. So from that perspective, Tokyo is pretty good. And if you are moving to Japan from abroad, you didn't do what I did and were working beforehand, then your health insurance here is gonna be very, very cheap. So just a little plus. And of course, for me personally, I did want to do research on a topic related to, Japan. So anyone who wants to research things that are either about Japan or have very strong fields in Japan, such as robotics, then I think Japan definitely makes a lot of sense. But if you're not doing anything related to Japan, at all, then I don't know if you necessarily need to come here. It's just up to you, I guess. But if you do want to carry out research on Japanese literature, then I mean, Japan. Come on, duh. My research is about Japan specifically, so that's why, it makes sense for me to be here. I also want to continue to improve my Japanese ability. I'd really like to get to N1 by the end of these 2 years. So if you're interested in pursuing either starting to learn Japanese or you want to improve your Japanese, then of course there's no better way to do it than moving to Japan. My school actually offers free language classes as well. I'm sure a lot of universities do this. So that's a really good opportunity, I think, if you just, if you want to do a little Japanese on the side of your enormous course schedule. And I think something really important that people do overlook is that you should probably want to work in Japan afterward. Personally, I do plan on staying and living and working in Japan for at least 2 to 4 years after I graduate. Not sure how long. We'll see. I don't know.
Don't talk to me about the future or you'll die from stress like a small animal.
But at least 2 years, I think, is key. because then you will have experience in the field and you can move back home if you'd like. So even if they haven't heard of the Japanese university you attended, you will have work experience to back you up. If you are planning on going to a PhD program afterwards, as long as you are in one of the top universities in Japan, I don't think this will impact you too strongly or have an effect on if you want to go to colleges in America or England, wherever. So feel free to do it. Or if you want to do a PhD in Japan, then of course come to Japan for your master's too, if you want. And I think one of the most important things that just kind of gets overlooked is that you have to want to live here. And I'm not just talking about after you graduate. I mean, while you're here, you have to want to live here. You have to enjoy it. Because if you hate how you live here, you're gonna not have a good time. Like if you don't like living in cities, but you want to go to the University of Tokyo, I'd maybe rethink the school choice, just because you don't want to be miserable for 2 years. It really just depends on, you know, who you are as a person. But don't forget that living in Tokyo, for example, is very like stimulating. Like you walk into Shibuya and it's just like noise, lights, Now of course I do love living in Japan, I do. I'm sure a lot of people watching this video also would be very interested in living in Japan, or they at least like to visit. And something to consider though is how much money you're gonna have. This really just depends on your personal situation, if you have scholarships, things like that. But I would just consider the cost of living in Tokyo and compare it to with what you can afford. Because if you're just gonna barely be scraping by, like you can't, you know, you can barely make rent every month, then I don't know if Tokyo would necessarily be the right choice for you, for example. But if you want to live in Japan, then by all means, if you think all the other criteria I've mentioned up till now apply to you, then I would just do it. At the end of the day, you just have to want to live in Japan. You have to want to study in Japan. And that is what is most important, because you have to be happy and the degree has to mean something to you personally. Just consider your situation, but don't be so afraid of coming over here and studying. Because if you want to do it, just do it. It's great, okay? Of course, not everything is perfect. I have a lot of problems, even at the university. It can be hard being an international student, you know, anywhere in the world. But these are the reasons why I chose to go to grad school here in Japan as opposed to going back home to Florida to live there and do grad school. If you like most of the points that I did say in the video, then I would just go ahead and at least apply, see what happens, see what you get. You never know. Personally, I do mostly enjoy my time here in grad school. Of course, there are bad things, but you know, that's another topic. That's another video. So I will be making more videos about my life in grad school. I already have. I'll make more. I vlog everything about Japan. Yay. So be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like that in the future. My name's Allison, and I'll see you next week. Bye!